Welcome to PR Like a Boss, the podcast where we unpack the magic and sometimes madness of PR in the beauty industry. I'm your host, Paps, and today's guest is someone who has been telling it like it is long before TikTok made brutally honest cool. I'm joined by the one, the only, and I should say legendary, Nadine Baggott. Beauty journalist, TV presenter, Times Magazine columnist, content creator. I mean, it goes on and on. Quite frankly, a woman who knows the beauty industry inside out. With over 30 years of experience under her belt, from writing for Hello and Marie Claire to a myriad of publications, appearing on ITV's This Morning, Nadine has built a reputation for being sharp, honest and unapologetically real. If you've ever wondered what beauty products actually work, which PR pitches fall flat, and what it takes to stay relevant in media and digital, you're in for a treat. Nadine, welcome to the show.
My absolute pleasure. It really is.
I mean, I am beyond excited to have you here. I think I'm like literally sweating. I can just feel the heat coming off me.
How far back do we go?
I've been in the industry for coming up to 25 years. So since then, I remember my first encounter with you. It was at L'Oreal, and, you know, sort of showing you the various launches. I can't remember the actual launch, but yeah, it goes back to my interning days at L'Oreal Paris. So a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years, so it has to be within that time frame, obviously.
Yeah. Well, should we just jump straight in?
Go for it.
Well, you've been on every side of beauty media, like print, TV, digital, social platforms. What's changed the most about how beauty brands get coverage or even get noticed today?
I have to say, honestly, I think there's been a revolution in terms of brand coverage, journalism, influencers, and it's happened really quickly. We started this conversation off by saying I've been doing this for 35 years. And I would say probably for 25 years of that, nothing changed. There was a hierarchy. There were 50 magazines or newspapers that everybody feted, and we ruled the world. While I was never of the inner circle, I've never sort of worked on Vogue or Condé Nast or anything like that, there was a hierarchy of magazines, and there were probably per brand, I don't know, 3-4 launches a year. Everything was I look back and I think it was very structured. It was very hierarchical. It was very sedate. You knew your place and you slowly worked your way up the ladder. Mm-hmm. And it's 15 years ago, just this wave of revolution came over in terms of people stopped reading hardcore print, old school legacy media, and they started interacting in lots of different ways. And it started on YouTube, and it went to Instagram, and it went from Instagram to TikTok and all that sort of stuff. And I actually feel incredibly heartfelt, maybe slightly sorry for anybody wanting to go into PR now, because there appears like there's no rules. Mm-hmm. And that makes it incredibly hard for you guys to even begin to negotiate what you need to do as a PR. It has changed so dramatically that I'm not sure where you start. In the same way that as a content creator, which is what I technically call myself now, journalist, content creator, TV presenter, the rules have also gone out of the window. Those people that are still in legacy media are struggling in the same way that people who do traditional old school PR. And by that, I mean, let's have afternoon tea and let me spend an hour presenting 3 new eyeliners to you.
I love those days.
I know. I have such fond memories of those days. But the world has changed. It's fundamentally changed. And you either move with it, even though you might technically be a little bit lost, or you're both metaphorically and actually redundant.
I mean, yeah, it feels quite nostalgic when you sort of, you know, take it back, doesn't it?
People say to me the whole time, my goodness, you must miss the old days. You must miss those days. And I think, because you know the thing about social media is there's no hiding anything, right?
Yeah.
So you can't keep any secrets. So if there's a trip and it's, you know, Ginny Space NK will be taking somebody on some amazing trip, and everybody comes to me and go, make it make sense. I can't make it make sense. Now, those trips existed back in the day, but there was no social media and we didn't have to create content. It was about building relationships, going on a trip, meeting the experts, meeting the dermatologists, meeting the formulating chemists, meeting the noses, whoever it was, and then coming back and writing features. So there was just as much glamour and luxury, but it was hidden. Now it's all out there for the world to see. So, the rules have just all been not exactly broken, but bent in very strange ways. And when people say to me, do you miss the olden days? Part of me does, but the olden days no longer exist.
Yeah.
If on social media, suddenly you were on a press trip with my old school cohort, sort of Nicola Moulton from Vogue or Camilla Kay from InStyle or Rosie Green from Elle, and you were all having fun without me, then I would be really sad. But that doesn't exist anymore. And I actually don't want to be on a modern trip with a million influencers in thongs taking selfies because it's not who I am. Sorry to be rude about modern influencers, but they're not journalists. They're fundamentally different content creators.
Yeah. Although I think you'd look spectacular in a thong on a beach somewhere.
Maybe 30 years ago.
No, I think you've still got it. You've still got it. You're known for your no-nonsense, honest approach. How important is credibility in media, and how can brands earn that trust with journalists and content creators like yourself?
For me, it's essential. Although I sort of categorize myself as a content creator, my agent refers to me as an expert creator. So that's a very niche market for somebody that really knows a subject inside out. So it's not just an opinion, it's an informed opinion. And it's an informed opinion that's been developed over years of interviewing dermatologists, cosmetic scientists, formulating chemists, cosmetic surgeons, noses, whatever. So they are, basically, I've just sucked all their brains dry over the years, like some horrible beauty vampire. And I think the brands I trust, now bearing in mind, I am a science-led, practical, probably mastige expert. For me, for a brand to gain credibility and authenticity with me, they need to be an open book. They need to give me access to the labs, give me access to the formulating chemists, explain what they're doing, show me their clinical trials if and when they do them, show me their consumer trials, which is more often what happens. And if I ask a question of somebody and they don't know the answer, they don't just bluff their way out of it. They'll say, actually, do you know, that's a really good question. I don't know that. Let me go away and find out and then get back to me. And I realise over the years that having done this for 35 years and having grown up in the industry, that takes incredible confidence, both as a content creator and as a PR and as a brand. It takes confidence to say, oh, I don't know, let me get back to you. Or we messed up and we can do better. Or we've improved this product. Or we discontinued this product because actually there was a better one that came along or whatever. And very few brands have that level of confidence.
Really?
Yeah. Very few content creators have that level of confidence. And I'm not sure whether, I think it's a combination for me of doing my time, like really 35 years in this industry, and I have a really good memory. Doing my time, learning, being fascinated by this industry, being genuinely interested in it, but also getting older, because that level of confidence does come with age as well.
And the experience. I mean, you've seen it all. You've been in every single lab, cosmetic lab, skincare lab, haven't you? I mean,
until I go to Korea in November, which is what I'm doing. That's my dream. But otherwise, I've been in labs in New Jersey, New York, Paris, London, I mean, that makes it sound incredibly glamorous, but most labs are not glamorous at all. And most are, like when you used to go to the L'Oreal labs back in the day, you'd land in Paris, it'd be so exciting. But the labs are actually outside of Paris in this sort of, the equivalent, I suppose, the Parisian equivalent of Basingstoke. And it's the same, like most labs, like the Lauder headquarters are in New York overlooking Central Park, but the labs actually are nowhere near there. You'd be in Suffolk, New Jersey or something like that. So yeah, but I do like to I like to look behind the velvet rope. I like to try and decipher the truth of beauty because, and this has actually become increasingly important over the last few years, is there's just so much noise and so many product launches and so many brands that genuinely 20 years ago there weren't. So I just feel that the average consumer can't decipher that landscape. So for me, it's my job just to hold their hand and say, right, okay, I've seen beyond the velvet rope. I'm in the VIP room. Let me show you what works and what doesn't. What's affordable.
Yeah. You're a voice. You're a very important voice.
I never shut up, Patrizia. My school report once said, should pay better attention, should learn to listen more and speak less. And I'm like, oh, well, I made a career out of speaking, so I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologise. This is one of the reasons that I really wanted you on here. I need you to talk, and literally, I want all the info, all the gossip, everything. Now tell me, what kind of PR pitch immediately turns you off, and what gets your attention?
So, the days of the PR pitches one-on-one are very rare. So back in the day, you would have met up with me, you would have said, right, okay, I've got access to this celebrity, access to this new scientist, access to this new product. How do we bring it alive for you? How do I sell it into the Daily Mail? How do I sell it into Marie Claire? How do I sell it into Leo? And we would sit there together and have the time to formulate an idea that would bring feature to life so I could go back to my editors or TV presenters and say, producers and say, right, this is what's happening. I've got exclusive access here or an exclusive angle. This is what we do. That doesn't happen anymore now. Mainly because you've got a whole generation of PRs who are incredibly young, who aren't comfortable because they've been raised in social media. Even picking up a phone, let alone meeting somebody, they're not comfortable. So they want to pitch via DM or via email. The biggest turn-off for me would be anything that says toxin-free, chemical-free, clean, anything remotely goopy, no disrespect to Gwyneth Paltrow. Mild criticism, Gwyneth Paltrow, but I don't do that. And I also, although that said, these brands are no longer interested in me at all, I don't do the magical, mystical, this ingredient was picked by Vestal virgins on a mountainside as dawn was coming up because we've got this ingredient and nobody else has got it. Because once you've been to enough ingredient suppliers, you know that everybody goes to the same labs to get the same ingredients. So that, and then what does absolutely grabbed my attention is, and I always say this, people say to me the whole time, why have you never launched a brand? And I always say, because I don't have the ego to launch a brand. And that's the truth, because if you're going to launch something, it's got to be better, cheaper, or absolutely unique. And very few brands, new brands, tick those boxes. If you're even going to launch a product, it's got to be better, cheaper, or unique. And those three criteria are really important. So anybody that says to me, brand new ingredient, brand new product, higher ingredient percentage, better formulated, better value for money, then I'm in. And if it has clinical trials, I'm all over it. So that, and I think this is really important because most brands don't understand this, or they do understand it because the scientists understand it, but the marketeers and the PRs don't understand it. And absolutely, influencers and most journalists don't understand it. A consumer trial is fundamentally different to a clinical trial. So a consumer trial is where you ask 30 people to try a product for 6 weeks and then they come back and they say what they thought of it. Do you think it made your skin bouncier? Do you think it made your skin glowier? Do you think it made your hair thicker? Do you think it made your eyelashes look longer? That's somebody's opinion. And it's a valid trial, but it's an opinion. A clinical trial is something that is preferably double-blind in the sense that you give somebody a product. They don't know if they're using the product or whether they're using a placebo product. And then afterwards, after a period of 6 weeks, 6 months preferably, you test the skin clinically. So you have, twistometers and hygrometers and they test the skin. And then actually these things are independently analysed. Those tests cost a lot of money and very few brands do them now. But the ones that do will always grab my attention. So there's consumer trials and there's clinical trials. And a consumer trial you will see written in little letters at the bottom of a huge ad if you drive past it going into a city, and it says, consumer trial tested on 16 women aged 35 to 40, results said this.
Yeah.
Clinical trials are actually written up in papers. So it's very different.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So as mentioned, you're a regular across many different outlets, so TV, print, digital. What are the key differences in how brands should approach media across different formats?
I mean, it helps if you are familiar, and I do not in any way underestimate how hard this must be, because there are so many different formats now. As I said, we've gone from 50 magazines and newspapers to 50 magazines and newspapers, 50 TV channels. There used to just be 3 or 4, and very few of them did beauty content. Then there are 4 main channels, digital channels, and millions of influencers. I mean, it's mind-blowing how anybody could actually manage all of this in terms of being a PR. But I think for me, actually, if somebody pitches an idea to me, it's my job to work out how it would work on television, how it would work on in print for the Times, or how it would work in terms of a video. So that's actually my job. So I think the important thing is you need a new hook, and it needs to be one of these 3 things. It needs to be newer, better, or unique. And it doesn't matter if it's a service, it doesn't matter if it's a hair extension, it doesn't matter if it's a mascara, it doesn't matter if it's a new facelift technique, it doesn't matter if it's a new serum. Essentially, it's got to be one of those things. And that will always be interesting. So, for example, if you're pitching to me on, very few people actually pitch to me for TV, which is really interesting. But it'll be something like, we've got this amazing new salmon sperm serum or something like that. And at the time, nobody's heard of it. And I know it's called a PDRN serum, but salmon sperm is going to be the interesting thing, and it's going to grab headlines. And I can just, in my mind, I can just see Dermot and Alison and Kat and Ben saying, "Woo, who wants to try a salmon sperm facial?" or something like that. You can just see it coming alive. And you've got to realise for television that just because I am creating an item for television where, 500,000 people are watching, you've got to realise that the vast majority of people watching this morning aren't interested in beauty. So it has to be fundamentally headline grabbing and interesting. When I'm writing for the Times, it's got to be the best 9 or the best 19 products within a category, which I come up with most of the ideas. Nicola Gill occasionally comes up with an idea. And then it's my job to go through the Rolodex in my mind, because I have a Rolodex of products and brands, and just think, right, I need to pull this together. And for my videos, that's really similar. So basically, if you think of the Times, that's just a written version of my videos, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like to create content with people because I'm fed up of listening to myself. So I'll happily create content with people who are fundamentally different with me and hold different views to me, because I can't, in the end, I'm just fed up with editing myself. It's just, I'm over myself. Like after 35 years, I just want another person's opinion, even if it's not an opinion I agree with. Do you know what really shocked me is how much beauty journalism has really changed? And I only really discovered this recently, probably in the last year. And that's because every so often now, I get a call from a big media outlet, and a journalist will say to me, do you want to do a 15-minute interview and we'll have a chat about your desert island beauty products, say, for example, or your top 10 SPFs or something like that. And most of the time I always say yes, of course, because I fundamentally appreciate how hard it is to be a PR in the current landscape and how hard it is to be a journalist in the current landscape. What really blows my mind now is that there are, and I want to use the term journalist, but I do use it really loosely because it's not the way that I was trained to do journalism, who basically cherry pick your content, whether it's through the Times or whether it's from This Morning or whether it's from my videos, screen grab something. So this is digital content, online content, screen grab a picture, quote you, create an affiliate link and just make money from the affiliate link.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens all the time. To the point, I was at an event where I was actually presenting, but I was also there as a journalist about 9 months ago. And a young journalist came up to me, really young journalist, who shall remain nameless. And she just tapped me on the shoulder and she went, "Oh, hi, Nadine, we did that interview, 6 months ago." And I said, "Oh, yeah, hi, nice to meet you. How is it? Because I know it's really hard being a journalist now. They're all underpaid and overworked." She went, "Oh, no, we must do more. I get the highest affiliate link earning off you, much more than any of the girls off Love Island."
Wow.
And so she gets a percentage of affiliate links, which drives her income. I don't get paid a penny for any of it. I always get I have a Google alert on my name, so I know when people are using my name to sell things. I then cut and paste it, send it back to the brand and go, look, I can convert for you. You should think about working with me because I genuinely love this product because I wasn't paid to do this. Like literally, I'm not being paid any of it.
Yeah.
And
they didn't disclose that at the beginning?
No.
That's so
It's the
cheeky.
wild, wild west out there.
Wow.
But then PRs will do it as well. Can I just say, like, I will create an item on This Morning, and this has happened recently for a couple of brands, and they will cut and paste the bit from This Morning, use it without This Morning's permission, let alone my permission, but it's This Morning's content. And then they will run it all over their Instagram and they think it's their right to do it. So they'll run it all over them. I mean, I've actually slid into my DMs and said to the PRs, you really shouldn't do this. Like, do you have, like, it would be nice if you asked me, but you should really ask This Morning. That's This Morning's editorial content.
Yeah.
And they will use it editorially. And then sometimes they'll take it down. Sometimes they'll apologize, but they'll try and get away with it. And when I went back to This Morning, I said to This Morning, how do you feel about this? And they say, we'll work on the principle that if we don't see it, it's not a problem. But if anybody sees it, they'll be in trouble. But do you know what's really, really, really cheeky? Brands will create ad content out of it and then put paid spend behind it. And that's illegal.
That is illegal.
I know.
I mean, wow. Without even asking permission. That's wild.
No. And just recently, I got the Times involved with the brand, and the Times saw it across Facebook. And I am on Facebook because you get an older consumer on Facebook, but I'm not really active on it. I'm sort of share content because it's a meta platform with Instagram. And the Times came back to me and said, did you give approval for your stuff from the Times to be used by this brand in an ad? And I was like, no. And I had gone back to the PR and said, you can't do this. It's illegal, right? Editorially, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but to create an ad and to put spend behind it, it's actually illegal. But it took the Times' lawyers for a cease and desist to come because they knew what they were doing and they just thought they could get away with it. It's the wild, wild west out there. It really is. And it's why being an expert and an authentic expert with a voice that's trusted means more to me than anything. And it's why brands that are authentic and can believe in their products and who have PRs that they believe in, that I have to say, and I'm obviously going to say this, that have some miles on their clock. Like it's the experience that will get you through this weird, wild, wild west time where everything appears to be a little bit of a free-for-all and filters are being used and ads aren't being disclaimed and all that sort of stuff. So it's tough being a PR. I don't envy you, but also at some point you need to just kind of check in and think, right, am I doing what is good for my career in the long term?
But do we think that's because there's a lack of training?
Oh, there's no mentorship, there's no training. Back in the day, I would have, and I said this actually to the most recently departed general manager of the entire Estee Lauder group when I said goodbye to her. And I said, pre-lockdown, I could have walked through 5 floors of Estee Lauder and 5 floors of L'Oreal, and I would have known virtually every general manager and every PR director. Now I don't know any of them. We were wrapping for the Beauty Banks, that amazing charity that Joe and Sally created, where basically they strong-arm beauty companies into giving free products for people that are in hygiene poverty, which is a little bit like a food bank, but for beauty products and hygiene products. And they all came down at the end of the day because we all ran over. We were still wrapping products. So generously donated. And all these young people came in. I didn't know a single one of them. And I said to Kim Daniels, I don't know any of these people. Who are these people? And it's a whole new generation of people who are very young. I think are probably very undervalued because I think there's been a massive move to marketing over PR. Very overworked, underpaid and undervalued. So in a way, any shortcuts they can make, I sort of appreciate. It's tough. There was a time when PRs were paid more than journalists for good reason because it's a tough job. And being a journalist meant you were poorly paid, but there were lots of perks on the job, lovely trips and lovely freebies and stuff like that. Now I think PRs probably get paid the same as journalists. And I just think who in their right mind would go into it? I'm so sorry if anybody's listening to this and they want to be a PR, but it is really, really hard. If you're really good at what you do, trust me, you will rise to the top and rise to the top quickly. But I think for a lot of people, there's just there's a sort of lack of mentorship, lack of training, lack of structure in their work, which is hard for people. It's hard for young people. And also a lot of people have worked say you've been in the industry for 6 years, you know, you're not even in an office 5 days a week. And I know for a lot of young people that is really traumatic. Like the thought of going into an office 5 days a week is traumatizing to them. And if you've ever worked from home, and I've worked from home for a vast chunk of my career, but for the first 15 years of my career, you're the first person to get in the morning and the last person to leave at night. And it's by watching people and being mentored and having a structure to your day that allows you to build the confidence to be the best at whatever you do. And I think that's just lacking now.
Completely. What do you think about, the AI coming through the ranks and how that's being used?
I mean, as a journalist, I'm very anti-AI. And the first thing I said when I got my iPhone 16 Pro was, how the hell do I turn artificial intelligence off? Artificial intelligence is just a reflection of what's online. And we all know that probably 15% of what's online is opinion and not fact. So if you Google something now or Safari something, then the first thing that will come up with is an AI answer. And an AI is just what's out there. There's no fact checking going on. As a journalist, I would never use ChatGPT because words are my job. AI will put makeup artists, content creators, and journalists out of a job in 20 years' time. Why would you put up with the ego of a content creator if you can just have a AI bot creating stuff? And look at the stuff that Alex Box is doing recently, which I think as an artist is incredible. But she has this platform where you can basically just create a fake face and fake makeup. Now, there's still artistry and skill involved, but there's no artistry and skill in ChatGPTing a caption.
Yeah.
And so many influencers I know do it because they're not journalists. And I understand that, their opinion is their opinion and they might be fun and whatever they do. But I am a journalist. Like, the way I write is fundamental to who I am. When I first started as an influencer stroke content creator, so many people I know hire people to edit and film for them. I would never let anybody edit any of my content because I know what I have to say and I know how to get it across. And I'm also a control freak. So the idea of ChatGPTing my job away is just an anathema to me.
What's one campaign, launch or story you remember for all the wrong reasons, and what can we learn from it?
I remember, this is going back a while now, and this is no disrespect to the brand. I remember being in the south of France for the launch of a Lancôme product. And it was before I went through the menopause. So it's got to be 20 years ago. So I would have just probably started at Hello, hence the fact I was on the trip. And I remember I was with Newbie Hands and Anna-Marie Soloway. And Newbie's a year younger than me, but Anna-Marie and I are the same age. And they launched their first ever menopause cream.
Okay.
But it being Parisian, we couldn't actually mention the word menopause at all. Because this is 20 years ago. And why would Parisian women have the menopause? I mean, They probably still deny it to this day. And I even remember the name of the product. So basically, they sat us down and Newbie and myself and Anna-Marie were at the front. So at the time, we would have been Vogue, Hello, and Harper's. And at the back, there's loads of young people who don't give a flying F about the menopause. But we are the oldest in our group. So we're still probably early 40s at the time. But, we can see it on the horizon, right? And we're smart because a lot of beauty editors were also health writers. And they launched this product called Renergy Morpholift Rare Facial Repositioning Cream. And that's actually what it was called, right?
Facial repositioning cream.
And it was RARE, which was basically, it's the French shorthand for a facelift, the way of doing a deep plane smash facelift, SMAS. And Newbie and I and Alex sat through so the only way you could actually work out that it was a menopausal cream is because it had phytoestrogens in it. So it had sort of red clover and sort of the things that slightly goopy people take in place of hormone replacement therapy. So it had like a red clover and maybe I can't remember, it had another one, black cahoosh or something in it. Something that I think Kathy Phillips might have been in the room. And I remember Kathy Phillips who was that 10 years older than me, going through the menopause and doing it naturally and looking amazing. And she was always rubbing weird unguents on her body. Anyway, and so she sort of elbowed me and said, oh, that they're phytoestrogens. That's interesting. Anyway, and I remember they finished the presentation and it had sort of roses and maybe a woman who was like 32 in the ad or something like that. And Newbie and Anna Maria and I turned to each other and I said, so are you trying to say this is for menopausal women? And they were like, and the French marketing guy went, like, because you couldn't mention the word. We've come so far, you couldn't mention the word menopause. Now I'm so fed up with women my age wanging on about the menopause. Like, for God's sake, find a new shtick. I can't do it. Anyway, no disrespect to Davina. I love her. She's a friend of mine. But I like everybody's talking about it now, right? Everybody's owning it. Anyway, and I just remember thinking, this is so wrong. You're patronizing older women because you're marketing it on a young person. It was a bit like the first time that Estee Lauder hired Kendall Jenner to front an anti-aging cream, which was like 21 at the time. Mind blowing. Just wouldn't happen nowadays at all. And I remember thinking the name's really difficult. You're not mentioning the menopause. You're advertising it on a young woman. This is just a mistake. And within a year it's gone. It was so obvious.
Wow.
But now you still have hard time. You will still find a hard time finding a French company talk about the menopause. It's just not something they do. Whereas the Americans would own a menopause in a heartbeat. That was just the weirdest thing to me.
That's
great
so
trip,
funny.
weird product.
You've built a loyal digital audience and community. How does being a content creator now influence how you see brand partnerships or pitches?
Completely differently. I think 20 years ago, there was this structure where you felt like you were incredibly lucky and privileged to be in this industry. A lot of people had sort of worked their way up and you'd done your time and when you were fated back in the day, you felt like you'd really put your time and your energy and effort in. And now I feel that you can probably just become viral overnight. So I feel like there's less of a hierarchy and less respect, I think, probably than there ever used to be. It's interesting. So if and again, this goes back to that original question you asked me about what attracts me to a brand. If a brand is really smart, they will say to me, we'd like to work with you over 6 months. Do you want to work with us? And I will know instantly what brands I want to work with because they will be probably some sort of dermatology-led middle market brand. So the sort of La Roche-Posay, Aveeno, Aven, that Vichy, that hardcore market that just does great skincare at affordable prices, little bit, sort of sections of Number 7, that sort of The Ordinary, that sort of market makes sense to me. And when other brands sort of based around essential oils or obscure ingredients, natural deodorants, get in touch with me because obviously antiperspirants are dangerous. I don't know, some madness like that. I don't believe in beauty conspiracies or conspiracy theories, full stop. When those sort of brands get in touch with me, I think, have you looked at my content? It doesn't make any sense. But then a brand will come to me, a really clever brand will come to me and say, right, we think you align with our principles. And I say, absolutely, I know those 15 brands off by heart. And they say, we want to work with you for 6 months. This is the MPD. Pick and choose what MPD you'd actually use, because obviously not all MPD is going to work for a menopausal woman with sensitive skin of a certain age. And then come back to us with some ideas about how you would create content around it. And that takes a lot of confidence because it's basically putting the control back in my hands. But it's always the content that works best and engages. So they trust me to create content my way, whether it's a routine at home or whether it's a shopping video or whether it's a piece of content with an expert or a live or whatever. But it does take a lot of confidence to you're basically handing over the control to me. And also, I always say to them in return, if you can trust me to do this, because I know what my audience want, then give me a link that's trackable and traceable. Don't give me an affiliate link. I don't use affiliate links. But give me a link that's trackable and traceable that's unique to me. And then you'll get a return on investment. You'll know, right, okay, she's converted. We have this trackable link with her name and her date on it. That's fine. That we can then say, right, okay, so she drove sales by 20% or 30%. She drove people in store or online. That's the way to work. And then it's a win-win-win. And sometimes in the early days, I'll say, okay, let me do it below the agreed brand rate, because I want to prove to you that I can work with you and that I can really sell your products because I genuinely believe in them. And if a brand comes back the other way and says, we want this, even if it's a brand I love, sometimes I create a piece of content and I think this just is not going to work. I wish they'd have trusted me. And they're always the deals that in the back of your mind you go, even though I love this product and I love this deal, it's just not going to engage with my audience. And they're always the ones that you just think that we missed the mark there. But 9 times out of 10, I just see a brand and I just think and I said this on a podcast recently, and I say this not in any way bragging, but I recently turned down 6 figures for a natural refillable deodorant.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Because and my agent was horrified because that's a lot of money for me. And I just said, I will not do clean beauty. I will not tell people that antiperspirants are bad for them. I will not promote something that is based in conspiracy theory and lies. I cannot do it. And I just said, there are a million of influencers out there that will do it. And the way that beauty brands often get around messaging that is not maybe 100%, I won't say truthful, but I would say honest, is quite often they will partner with somebody who isn't an expert. So they will partner with a fashion expert or a gardening expert or a baker or a chef, or they will partner with somebody who basically, it would be a bit like a company partnering with me and making me cook. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't make me do that. So that way they can get away with people basically regurgitating a marketing brief, and I would never do that. I just would never regurgitate a marketing or a PR brief.
Yeah. I mean, do you think there's a lot of scaremongering out there? Because I feel that we're going through the motions with the ultra processed foods. I mean, every bloody Instagram thing that comes, up on when I'm scrolling, it's about, how seed oils are bad for you. And, veganism is out of the window now because there are so many fake, full of horrible ingredients in terms of like the fake meats and stuff. I feel that that's coming through even with beauty now. And it's for a consumer that doesn't really delve into the research or doesn't have that knowledge, it can be quite scary. That's why I think, I guess natural has that clean beauty area has really
Exploded.
taken off. It's exploded. But is it based on scaremongering, or is there some
bullshit.
form of truth?
No, it's
there?
bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's absolute and complete bullshit. There's your sound grab. The beauty industry is so heavily regulated. Formulating chemists go to university for years to do what they do. If anything, they spend most of their life desperately trying to get active ingredients into the skin. Your skin's job is to keep things out. That's your barrier function. Its job is literally to form a barrier between you and the outside world. Formulating chemists have to trick ingredients into the skin. They have to trick retinols and vitamin C and peptides into the skin, normally in little liposomes or little oily containers that can burst into the skin. To think that something would go through your skin, get into your bloodstream and end up in your liver or your kidneys is just, it's madness. Formulating chemists have families, they have husbands, they have wives, they have children. They're not out to get you. They are out to create a product that is, first of all, safe, and secondly, efficacious. It has to be safe. And the tests that beauty products go through are as long as your arm. Yet the supplement industry is completely unregulated. Supplements are treated like food. They're not treated like medicine. So you can make outrageous claims about supplements. You can make outrageous claims about vitamins, minerals, NEA, NAD, whatever is the new thing, protein supplements. And you can get away with it because it's natural and it's healthy. And yet the beauty industry is somehow seen as toxic. And it doesn't help that retailers. So what you've got is you've got a situation where you've got the beauty dog, the tail is wagging the dog. So you've got, instead of relying on experts, and I think this exploded through lockdown, it actually goes back to a time when Facebook originally used to just have like or dislike. And they had like or dislike buttons, and then they started creating reactionary buttons. And the algorithm at Facebook and Meta noticed that if you had a negative reaction to something, so if you hated it or disliked it, you engaged with it more.
Mm-hmm.
So it started feeding you more content that you hated and disliked. And as a result, if you hated or disliked it, you then basically got fed more of it. So you end up in this perpetual circle where you don't ever get the opposite opinion. And you'll notice that on YouTube, if you watch one piece of content that just happens to be fed for you, perfect example would be something like clean beauty versus toxic chemical beauty. If you liked or engaged with a piece about clean beauty, you will continually be fed clean beauty myths. If you like something that's scientific, you will continually be fed dermatological, scientific-based stuff. So you never get an unbiased opinion, you just get this. So what happens is you then end up with, especially in lockdown, you end up with a whole group of people who fundamentally don't trust experts. They don't trust scientists, they don't trust pharmacists, they don't trust the government, they don't trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you come from a place of distrust, then you are automatically going to buy into and engage with conspiracy theory. And that's exactly what clean beauty is. It's a conspiracy theory. And you'll start downloading the Yucca app and things like that. Now, science is nuanced. You cannot take an ingredient and say it's good or bad, because an ingredient will depend on the strength of the ingredient, the source of the ingredient, the delivery mechanism of the ingredient, whether you're supposed to take the delivery on your scalp, in your mouth, on your skin. So the dose makes the poison, right, if you speak to a toxicologist. So a Yucca app will basically look at an active ingredient and they'll say alcohol. Alcohol's bad, denatured alcohol's bad. That product's terrible. They won't realise that denatured alcohol could also cover, or alcohol could also cover fatty alcohols. Now, fatty alcohols are actually quite good for the skin, and they're used in sunscreens where they enable a thin, even coverage. So, and then they evaporate off the skin and they're fine, and they leave behind the active ingredient. So there's no nuance. So what's missing on social media is an unbiased balance opinion and nuance. And then what happens is you have this consumer, the tail wagging the dog. So you've then got a situation where brands notice that lots of people are researching clean ingredients or toxic-free beauty. They then start creating products that, for example, have are paraben-free. A paraben is a preservative that's completely safe. The one test that originally linked it to breast cancer cells was completely disproved, and they realised actually that the parabens weren't on the product. They were on the cleaning solution that was actually in the Petri dishes and the pipettes. So that was all disproved, but that doesn't make any difference because the headline is parabens are bad. So then a beauty company will look at that. And I remember interviewing Liz Earle about this. This was a long time ago, about 10 years ago. And now Liz Earle would be considered, when she owned her brand, a fairly natural beauty brand owner. And she said, my consumers don't want parabens. It's crazy. Parabens are safe. We all know parabens are safe. Everybody in the beauty industry knows they're safe. But because my consumer doesn't want them, I'm now having to tell my formulating chemist to formulate without parabens. That's the tail wagging the dog. That's the consumer, the misled, misinformed conspiracy theorist consumer telling the brands what to do. Now the consumer, and I include myself in this, that's not their job. I want to go to somebody, I always say this whenever I'm researching something, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. Now, I have a degree and I have a postgraduate diploma, but I still want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to be surrounded by doctors and professors and formulating chemists. I really literally want to soak up that information. So what you've got is you've got a consumer who then tells a brand what they want. The brand then go and tell their formulating chemist to create a product that is substandard and isn't as good, and symptoms of perioral dermatitis have gone through the roof because parabens products aren't as well preserved as they used to be 10 years ago when we had parabens that were completely safe. And parabens are found in food, and it's just madness. Anyway, so you've got this whole situation, and then what you have is you have enough brands, and then you have companies like Sephora then having some sort of weird regulated clean by Sephora section, and then you're in a tailspin of madness that is just not based in truth. It's not based in truth. And that's really worrying. That's the biggest misconception in the beauty industry, is that the beauty industry is not heavily regulated and that it's not safe. And it is heavily regulated and it is safe. In fact, I would pretty much guarantee that the products are more safe than they are efficacious, because people will go for safety more than they will go for efficiency and the efficacy of a product. And that's really upsetting.
Yeah, that's really interesting. For brands trying to break through the noise, what's one piece of advice you'd give them that they probably don't want to hear?
Is your brand unique? Is it cheaper? Is it better? What's unique about your brand? What made you create your brand? If I hear one more time about some burnt out finance person launching a brand, I mean, just what makes you think you could launch a brand? You're not a formulating chemist. You're not a dermatologist. You're not a hairdresser. You're not a makeup artist. Like, make it make sense. I have been approached by 3 different companies to create my own brand. And I always say to them, what am I going to offer that's not available? 20 or 30 years ago, you could have Iman come to you or Francois Nars come to you and say, there were no black products on the market. There weren't enough foundation shades. And you knew it was the truth. You knew it was the truth. You'd interview Naomi Campbell and she'd say, Francois used to just create my foundation for me because there was nothing on the market because they were all hideous. You knew it was the truth. Now, if anybody, Victoria Beckham, tells me she creates her brand because she cannot find a product, she's lying. Have you been to Boots? Have you been to Superdrug? Have you been to Sainsbury's? Have you been to Selfridges? Have you been to Marks and Spencer's? There are more than enough products out there. There really are. You need never have to ever formulate a new product ever again, unless it is unique, unless it is cheaper, unless it is better. So those 3 things are so important. They're so important. And it's hard. I mean, a PR will take on a brand and, they might be forced to pay their bills. And then at the end of the day, they're going to think, do I really believe in this brand? Is this brand unique? Is it better? Is it speaking to an audience that never been spoken to before? Black Lives Matters, Asian heritage people that technically have been ignored by the vast majority of the beauty industry. Does it include an audience that's never been spoken to before? There has to be something utterly unique about your product, or just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
There's too many products out there. My advice to 99% of brand founders is go back to stage 1 and go, be honest, why are you doing it? And I would say the same to those hideous equity companies and venture capitalists who are all white men in suits, who think that beauty is a fast buck ready to be made. Stop patronizing people. The beauty industry is huge. It's a massive industry. I posted something on stories the other day where a podcaster was saying, what's bigger than the motor industry and the fashion industry and the holiday industry and the media industry? What's making more money? And I can't remember who it was. It was one of the Channel 4 guys was like, I don't know. She went, beauty. And everybody thinks beauty is throwaway. And it's because it's essentially a woman's consumed industry. People think it's nothing, that it's fluff, that it's rubbish. And beauty done well is incredibly empowering for women and incredibly empowering. And it can make a visible physical difference to skin and hair and nails and body and all that sort of stuff.
And mental.
And mental, yes. But it has to be well formulated by experts who know what they're doing. And it has to be better, cheaper, newer than what's currently on the market. Otherwise, don't do it.
I like that. Better, cheaper, newer.
Newer.
Fabulous. Okay, Nadine, before I let you go, we're going to play a little game. This one is called Hype or Nah. I'm going to throw out some beauty trends, products, or buzzwords your way, and you tell me whether it's worth the hype, totally overblown, or too soon to tell. Ready?
Okay. Yep.
Skin cycling.
No, not worth it.
Why not?
Because your skin does not get used to products. It just doesn't. Like your hair doesn't get used to products. It really doesn't. That idea that you had to use 4 products from one brand or 5 products or 10 products from one brand isn't true. Your skin renews itself. I mean, your hair renews itself, fairly regularly, but your skin renews itself between every 30 to 60 days as you get older. You don't need to cycle your skin at all.
LED
Just be
face
consistent.
masks.
Just be consistent.
Just be consistent.
Be consistent, yeah. Slow and steady wins the race. Sorry. LED face masks. Too soon to tell. I think if you're going to buy one, then make it cheap and cheerful and effective. I would say the Style Pro one. I think Tom Pellereau, the guy that won Dragon's Den, I think is just incredibly smart. And I think he sources things. All 99% of LED masks come from 2 or 3 factories in China. So just he goes over there and buys them cheaper than everybody else. I think you have to be really careful if they've got blue light and you've got melasma or pigmentation. I do not use one.
Do you not?
And I turn down lots of money to promote them.
Wow. Gosh. Slugging.
Great if you've got very, very dry skin, terrible for all other skin types. So, and you could just use Vaseline or really heavy emollient cream. I mean, I probably wouldn't use Vaseline because I do have dryish skin as I'm getting older, but I would much rather use La Roche-Posay, Cicaplast Bone B5, something like that at night, but really only good for really, really dry skin or really sensitized skin that's overdone actives and you're trying to repair your barrier.
How about Botox in your 20s?
Absolute rubbish.
Really?
I mean, for God's sake, please. I was 43 when I had Botox for the first time. So that's exactly 20 years ago. And I love my Botox. If I could choose one treatment, it would be it. But I mean, look at it. I mean, my eyebrows move. You can still see my lines. I have very, very micro doses of it. It's brilliant, but just preventatively. I mean, my heart breaks for a generation of women who have been raised with filters and Love Island perfection in their 20s. You should be going out there, burning the candle at both ends and having the time of your life, sleeping in your makeup and just worrying about it all when you're in your probably mid to late 30s.
Well, those were the days. How about TikTok dermatology tips?
If they're from a genuine dermatologist, i.e. what we know them as consultant dermatologists in the UK, in America, they're board certified dermatologists, 100%. I love those guys, the bro derms that do all this. I love Dr. Lee. He's a really nice guy. Or Daniel Sugud, or he's from Hawaii originally, but he's American. So I have about 5 derms that I really love. Some of the women as well are amazing. Beware people that say they are dermatologists and they do not call themselves consultant dermatologists or board certified dermatologists. They're not dermatologists. They just have a specialist interest in dermatology, but they're normally aesthetic doctors or GPs.
Yeah.
They're not the people you need to go and see about your skin cancer. So be careful. And also, can I just say to PRs, before you hire somebody or create content around somebody and you say they're a dermatologist, go onto the GMC website, the General Medical Council website, check. You just have to type their name in. It's really easy. You type their name in, check what they're actually specialised in, because a lot of people are marketed as dermatologists and they're not dermatologists. Just recently, I was in negotiations with a brand who wanted to use me as part of a campaign, and in the end, I decided not to do it. They kept saying to me, we want a dermatologist, and they were looking for a very particular type of dermatologist. They kept coming up with all these dots, and I was like, doctor, aesthetic doctor, GP, not a derm. The GMC is a free website that you can go on and you can just type in any doctor's name and you can find if they are registered, what their speciality is, what their areas of expertise are. They have to be a consultant dermatologist. And consultant dermatologists can now earn a lot of money. A lot of people become consultant dermatologists and never actually practice dermatology because they're in such demand from brands. Derm washing.
How about the clean girl aesthetic?
In terms of clean beauty is just rubbish, obviously, but the clean girl aesthetic is just that sort of modern minimalism. I would call that what beauty editors were about. So beauty editors always wore the less makeup and had beautiful, long, sort of uncoloured, pretty straight hair and jeans and a t-shirt. That was just their aesthetic back in the day. I think we learned from the fashion people, if you look at them in the front row. I mean, obviously there are influencers and actresses in the front row and they're all heavily made up and heavily dressed a certain way. You know, this is pre-Kardashian era. The front row was always people who just, the idea of hell for them would be if they looked like they tried too hard. None of us ever wanted to look like we tried too hard, right?
Yeah.
That's what the clean girl aesthetic is. So I kind of like it.
How about the 12-step skincare routines?
Yeah, it's. Do you know, I created a piece of content recently with Dr. Christine Hall, who is Anglo-Korean. She said that doesn't even exist in Korea and Japan. That's American marketing. You don't need it. How many steps do I have in the morning? So I cleanse, use a vitamin C, use a peptide, maybe a moisturizer, but definitely an SPF. So it's 4 steps in the morning.
Yeah.
If you've got really good SPF with a moisturizer in it, you don't really need that as well. And then at night, cleanse, peptide, vitamin A, 3 steps at night. That's it.
How about fragrance layering?
Some fragrances are formulated to be layered, but I'm going to trust my expert. I want my nose to create my fragrance for me. So I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I'd have to be worried if it was a bit of a, if you're, I suppose in a way, my favourite fragrance creator is Geyser Schoen, who created the Molecule ranges. Now, they technically can be layered, but imagine layering 2 Guerlain fragrances.
Oh, it'd be too much.
It'd be a room rocker, right? You see, I want to believe in and trust the expertise of somebody who's been doing their job for 20 years. So I want to trust great perfumers to create great fragrances on their own. I'm not a perfumer.
I mean, look, Nadine, thank you so much. Not just for
sharing.
sharing.
If anybody is listening to this and they're thinking about either launching a brand or going into PR, I can only apologise, right? Okay? I don't mean to put a dampener on an industry I genuinely have so much love and respect and passion for, but I feel we shouldn't really be diluting it any further.
Look, no, I mean, I'm not going to accept your apology. You shouldn't have apologised in the first place, to be honest. I want to thank you so much for coming on, not just for sharing your wisdom, but for keeping it real, quite frankly. And yeah, in an industry that can sometimes feel extremely overwhelming. Where can listeners find you?
So you can find me, and this is the advantage of having the ugliest name in the world.
Oh, it's not.
It is. Nadine Baggott, Nadine Baggott, rhymes with maggot, which is what my nickname was at school. And because there's only one of me, literally in the world, you can find me anywhere on any platform on that. And can I just say, if I could have one piece of advice to brands, which I think is really interesting, is don't retrofit true experts to your brand. So don't create a product and then ask an expert's opinion. So I quite often get paid by brands to go in and give them advice. And I always say to people, if you'd have just got me in 2 years earlier, I could have saved you a lot of money because I could tell you, because I have a unique perspective, that I know what's coming down the line. I know what's new. I know what audiences want. I know what television companies want. Just get me in earlier. Just get the hairdressers, the makeup artists, the journalists, even some of the best content creators. Get them in earlier and ask their opinion. As I said, it takes confidence to do that, but realise that expertise needs to be built into your brand from the earliest day. Choose expertise over ego when you're building your brand.
Such sound advice. Thank you so much.
And so nice to see you
and
as well.
You.
Even virtually.
And to my listeners, if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review and share it with your fellow beauty and brand obsessives. It helps reach more amazing listeners like you. And don't forget, if you're ready to elevate your PR game, check out my e-course, PR Like a Boss. It's packed with actionable tips to help you get noticed and stand out. The link is in the show notes. Join me next time for more conversations with my female powerhouses. Until then, keep pushing boundaries and PRing like a boss.